As Valentine's Day draws near, couples are making plans to celebrate their relationships. A financial expert says that while couples celebrate love, the topic of debt in relationships is often undiscussed. The National Debt Advisors CEO, that's Chanel Collins, says the pressure and conflicts that arise from managing debt can unveil deeper issues such as secrecy about spending. He joins us for more pointers on this. And maybe just let's start off by getting general tips for do's and don'ts regarding spending for Valentine's. Dehan, can you hear me clearly?
Hi there. Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for having me. Some of the do's and don'ts. So the do's would be open communication with you and your partner. This is very important regardless of the topic. Within a relationship, you have to have open and honest communication. Secondly, discuss with your couple or with your partner what goals you should have in mind and what financial goals you should work towards. Having mutual financial goals is very, very important, as it keeps you both working towards some sort of outcome. Some of the don'ts would be secret spending. Don't go shopping, don't take out debt without communicating that with your partner. We don't realize what effect we have on our partner until it's too late.
Yeah.
So always make sure that you keep your partner in the loop.
So, Dehan, financial problems are cited as significant factors in many divorces. How do you advise couples to navigate discussions around debt and finances as well, to really build a strong foundation for their relationship, especially when it comes to long-term commitments?
Well, that's a very interesting topic. So I would advise that always discuss these matters with a financial advisor. Financial advisors will give you a long-term solution towards your current situation. They'll be the ones that can provide you with investment options or some budgeting advice.
Yeah.
If it has to do with excessive debt, which is often the problem we have at hand, always discuss these matters with a debt counselor. Debt counselors are equipped, they're knowledgeable, and they're registered and are regulated by the National Credit Regulator. We at National Debt Advisors offer this assistance to consumers to provide financial freedom to these financially distressed consumers.
But can you share practical tips on fostering this kind of communication to also address debt-related challenges?
Now, that is an interesting issue because excessive debt often comes with conflict. And in a relationship, conflict can easily deteriorate the relationship. So open, honest communication. Make sure you have that one-on-one discussion with your spouse or your partner. Make sure that you communicate effectively and openly and don't hide anything from your partner. I would also advise that you discuss what you want in life. What do you want to achieve? And you need to build that communication with your partner in order to work towards the same goal. Otherwise, you're going to work towards different goals, and it's going to deteriorate your relationship to the point where there's no return. I mean, we have 40% of divorced couples indicating that the reason for their divorce is financial troubles. So this doesn't just affect, couples in relationships, but it affects marriages as a whole, and it's a substantial issue that we need to get under control. And it also affects young people. So there was a study cited in the Journal of Financial Therapy where 88% of young couples cited financial troubles as having a strain on their relationship. So it doesn't just affect, those in marriages or those couples, but it affects everyone as a whole. Right. Whenever you're in a relationship, finances is going to play a key role in whether or not your relationship is going to be successful and is going to be sustainable.
I want to crystallize the last point that you make. Millennials are facing higher levels of debt, and they might find your insights particularly relevant. How can couples in this demographic proactively manage and also communicate about their financial situations to indeed ensure a healthy relationship amidst financial pressure?
I would say the best thing to do is to determine what standard of living you would like to achieve, what standard of living you'd like to attain. Then build a budget, a sustainable budget, a realistic budget, in order to ensure that you meet that financial or that quality of life that you want. Because we often find, especially people under debt review, they are working towards or they're living a life that they cannot afford. They're living a standard of living or a quality of life that they can't afford, and they refuse to lower their standard of living to be in line with their affordability. So it's about having that difficult discussion, that honest discussion, and looking at yourself and realizing whether or not this is what you want and whether you can afford this. Sometimes it's best to lower your standard of living as a temporary measure in order to build a financially sustainable future.
From what I gather, it sounds to me like you've mentioned that debt doesn't necessarily have to be a relationship deal breaker. Could you elaborate on specific strategies or even approaches that couples can adopt to navigate and overcome some of these challenges?
Well, excessive debt is one issue. If you have debt that you're able to afford, that's another. So if you start feeling as though there's excessive debt that's accumulating, you need to look at your budget and you need to look at your disposable income. Is your disposable income equal to that of your debt repayment? If it is excessive, you will have to consult a debt counselor. I know it's very difficult. It's a very difficult discussion to have, but that is why debt review is there. It's a relief measure to assist over-indebted consumers by restructuring their debt in line with their affordability.
Yeah.
And, all sorts of things happen in life. You can't always plan ahead. And so when you do find yourself in trouble, you need to ask the experts for their opinion. You need to ask them for advice because they'll be able to assist. Now, if debt review is not an option, let's say you're seeing that you're getting to that point where you're struggling with your debt, but you're not completely there. My advice is to dedicate as much of your disposable income towards paying off your debt as you can, even if that means cutting costs, even if that means lowering your standard of living temporarily to sort out your debt and to foster that sustainable financial future.
Dehan, can you share real-life success stories or even examples where following some of these guidelines that you mentioned significantly improved a couple's financial situation or their relationship as well?
Well, we see many couples under debt review, and many of those couples go into debt review with certain expectations. Now, some of those expectations are met, others are not. What we found is that if you stick to the program, if you maintain your payments, if you keep honest and open communication, I've seen many clients receive clearance certificates and complete the entire debt review process. So it does work for consumers. It all requires the need and the want and the willingness to take that first step and to lower your standard of living to meet your affordability. I keep repeating this because many people don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. And unfortunately, it's something that has to happen. There's no two ways about it. If you're not going to make that difficult choice and take that difficult step, you're not going to get anywhere. Your debt is going to keep accumulating, and it's going to get to a point where you can't afford the debt that you have, and you're not going to afford to take out more debt. So you're kind of stuck in this rut. So my advice is perseverance. Take on that responsibility. Take accountability for the choices you've made, and know that there are solutions in place. You just need to take that first step in order to let the process work for you. Now, as I've said, I've seen many consumers under debt review obtain clearance certificates, which means that they've completed the debt review process. So there are many examples of this. It's not, just one or two. People are entering debt review and they're also finishing the process every single day. So there's definitely some merit to it, but it's not the only solution. It all depends on the consumer's current financial situation.
Dehan, on the flip side, financial independence is also highlighted as important for a healthy relationship. How can couples then strike a balance between financial independence and also shared financial responsibilities to create, call it a harmonious dynamic? Yeah,
that is the question, and It's not easy. It's not easy. I'll be very honest with you. It takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of communication, and it takes sacrifice. It requires each person to sacrifice something in order to achieve the greater good, so to speak.
Yeah.
Within a dynamic of a relationship, that may mean giving up the takeaway on a weekend. That may mean not going on holiday, at the end of the year. These are sacrifices that are required in order to achieve your financial goals and to manage financial independence and ensure that you don't become over-indebted.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult line to balance. My advice is only use debt when you absolutely need to. If you don't, then don't.
Simple advice. Now, discussing personal debt, as you know, Dehan, is also a crucial step before a relationship becomes serious. How can individuals then approach this conversation, call it sensitively, and what steps can they take to collaborate and even address and manage personal debt within the context of developing this relationship?
Well, empathy plays a huge role in this, and in order to empathize with the other person, you need to understand where they're coming from and the reasons why. So when you're approaching the topic of debt, especially if you have excessive debt and your partner doesn't, explain to them why. Because the why is very important. The why will allow them to empathize and to understand. And from there, both of you can work together to formulate some sort of plan in order to tackle this problem. I've had personal experience in this regard, and it is a very difficult discussion to have. But it's not impossible, and it's not a deal breaker at all. As long as you both are willing to work towards fostering that financial sustainable future for yourselves and attaining financial independence, you can do anything.
Thank you so much, Dehan. That's Dehan Scherman. He's shedding light on the crucial intersection of debt and relationships.